Thank you. Welcome, class of 2022. 9 years ago, I was like you, sitting in Smith Chapel, listening to my first Simpson Convocation address. My initial thoughts as I learned of this award were, what a tremendous honor to be selected by the graduating class for the impact you've had on them, followed by, I hope I never win it, as giving an address like this would be well outside my comfort zone. The surprise and delight I felt when I realized that I was the 2018 Distinguished Teacher turned to trepidation a few minutes later as I remembered this speech. That, however, was soon eclipsed by eagerness. Not because I suddenly discovered a passion for public speaking, but because I realized it'd be your class specifically. The class that begins our honors program, as I'd enjoyed meeting the honors student I'd helped register 2 weeks earlier. The first class of our Simpson Promise, which exemplifies our founding principles and United Methodist commitments. And the class of students, there we go, which that has energized our nation with their wisdom, awareness, and civic engagement. Over the past 6 months or so, all across this country, we've seen students your year and younger claiming their power and demanding necessary change. Every year, I admire and encourage students' confidence in their ability to create change, but this past year, we've seen exceptional student activism, especially among last year's high school seniors. In part, this is because they've been on the front lines, which can be anywhere, not only with respect to gun violence, but multiple issues. Whoops, that's too soon. There we go. Including climate change's extreme weather, which is helping to create the refugee crisis, the greatest humanitarian crisis since World War II. We face so many challenges on so many fronts that it'd be easy to feel overwhelmed. And yet you, the students, give me hope for the future and inspire me every day. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas students' leadership reflects the power of well-resourced public education. It also affirms the value of Simpson's approach to the liberal arts and the role of each of our departments in cultivating informed, empowered, engaged citizens as our mission and curriculum commit us to, the kind of citizen that our world needs now more than ever before. Many noted that it wasn't coincidence that the Stoneman Douglas student leaders were debate and theater kids, as well as journalists for the school newspaper. They praised the Parkland School District for investing in physical education, the arts, and civics, which districts are cutting across our nation. As Dahlia Lithwick argued, students who are being painstakingly taught about drama, media, free speech, political activism, and forensics became the epicenter of the school violence crisis and handled it creditably. Their extracurricular education, one that focuses on skills beyond standardized testings and rankings, creates passionate citizens who are spring-loaded for citizenship. As the front lines can be anywhere, Simpson too has been rocked by these issues. In early November 2016, a year and a half after he graduated from Simpson, Justin Martin was murdered in his patrol car. A few minutes later, Sergeant Tony Beminio, also a police officer and a Simpson alum, was murdered in the same way and by the same man. I never met Tony, who graduated in 2001, but Justin was a student in my world religions class and a colleague in Simpson's SARA, or Sexual Assault Response Advocate program. He was a person of courage and compassion and must have made a brilliant police officer. In my class, Justin demonstrated appreciation for diversity and complexity, as well as concern for the marginalized and mistreated. In every capacity in which I knew him, Justin exemplified the best of Simpson's commitments to personal integrity, moral responsibility, social justice, and global citizenship. It was a privilege to know him. His days on this earth were far, far too few, but his positive impact immeasurable. Justin took my world religions class, and his friend Jesselyn was in my Ethics of Harry Potter class, which is similar to the SC I'm teaching now. Jesselyn's alive and well and achieving great things. The world's religions generally get recognized as offering some of humanity's most profound wisdom for a life well lived and even saving the world. Harry Potter, not so much by those my age and older, but haters gonna hate, and they're really gonna hate the next few minutes as I draw from Harry Potter, along with the world's religions, for some insights to help you get the most out of college so you can even better equipped to save the world. The first point is, when in doubt, go to the library. This is something Ron says about Hermione in the Chamber of Secrets, but applies in every book. The library isn't just a building. It represents our entire campus community, serving as the repository of knowledge for our various areas of expertise. Some mistakenly assume that the liberal arts are so called because of some association with those who are liberal politically, but liberal derives from the Latin word liber, meaning free, a homograph of liber, meaning book. As in learning these arts will free you to think for yourself, to be an informed, engaged, and empowered citizen. The liberal arts are transformative, helping you cultivate the knowledge, understanding, and skills you need to be a full participant in a creative, diverse, and just community, as Simpson's mission states. Most religions deeply value education and celebrate wisdom as among the highest goods. A saying attributed to the Buddha seems especially relevant. Buddha means the one who woke up, that is, to the true nature of existence, after studying and practicing every available path of his day. What he woke up to, among other things, is a life of balance and constant vigilance, as Mad-Eye Moody would say, being fully present in each moment. He is said to have said, "Accept no one else's truth as your own," meaning think for yourself, do your own research, and arrive at your own informed conclusions. The second point is, help will always be given at Hogwarts to those who ask for it. This is also from Chamber of Secrets. This is Dumbledore letting Harry and Ron know that even if it seems like he's gone, he'll still be with them. One of the most important lessons that anyone can learn is to ask for help when you need it, and we all need it, especially when we're in a new environment and getting involved in all the things. One of the secrets to your success will be learning time management, especially since many of you will have more control over your schedule than you've had before, and we've no time turners here. Simpson has many other resources to help you, like the triple goddesses of Trio. Still, life happens, and you may become overwhelmed or realize that you've made a mistake and aren't sure how to fix it. The most important thing you can do is own it and reach out for support and assistance. The longer you avoid asking for help when you need it, the harder you'll make it for yourself. So know your limits and don't try to do everything on your own. All of Simpson's faculty and staff are here to help. Again, many religions beautifully illustrate how much support and care the universe or the divine offers to us if we just ask for it. And here I turn to Judaism. Psalm 107 tells of how the Hebrew people, enduring enslavement, felt alone and abandoned, but they cried to the Lord in their trouble, and he saved them from their distress. He brought them out of darkness and gloom and broke their bonds asunder. In other words, ask for help, and you shall receive. The third quote is, "The world isn't split into good people and Death Eaters. We've all got both light and dark inside us. What matters is the part we choose to act on. That's who we really are." This is Sirius Black speaking to Harry in the Order of the Phoenix. We could reflect on this in several ways, including Taoism's view that the cosmos consists of energy that needs to be balanced. So what we see as bad is really imbalance, including having too much of a good thing. Or how, according to Islam, each person has a good angel and a bad jinn who offer conflicting advice. Which one we heed is up to us, and we have to decide daily. Here, however, I find a theory of religion's own origin especially intriguing. According to psychologist Joshua Green, religion is an evolutionary adaptation, a supercharged source of morality that enabled humanity to make the evolutionary leap from individuals to a collective. It took a multitude of separate I's and transformed them into a we, enabling humans to collaborate and thus become among the most advanced species. But when religion made many I's into a we, it also distinguished us from several other thems. Consequently, we're all biased in favor of those we see as similar to ourselves and against those we see as different, even though we may not realize it. We see those of our group as good and the thems as lesser or worse. I don't fully agree with Dr. Green, but I think he's highlighting certain essential aspects of religion, especially when it offers a collective identity. This is true of humanity independent of religion as well. As Dr. Green says, our brains are wired for tribalism. Consider, for example, how different the series would be if the hero were Draco Malfoy, Slytherin, rather than Harry Potter, Gryffindor. In a particularly poignant, yet also patronizing passage, Dumbledore says to Severus Snape, "Sometimes I think we sort too soon," meaning he thinks Snape was courageous and virtuous enough to be in Gryffindor rather than Slytherin, a house repeatedly described as cunning and power-hungry. For all his brilliance, Dumbledore still has bias for Gryffindor and against Slytherin. Class of 2022, don't sort too soon. Explore what interests you and find multiple points of belonging. And if you should find your truest home in one particular house, be it a fraternity or sorority or a major or a sport, know that the world isn't split into good people and Death Eaters, that we're all complex creatures, and those who seem least familiar might actually be those with whom we might develop the most meaningful relationships if we only take the opportunity to get to know them. The fourth point is, we're only as strong as we are united, as weak as we are divided. This is Dumbledore again, speaking to all of Hogwarts in the Goblet of Fire after Voldemort's return. His underlying message is essential to the series. Our diversity is our strength. It is? Yes, there it is. But only if we don't let ignorance, prejudice, and fear divide us. Voldemort's Death Eaters see difference as polluting some imagined superior race, but the heroes of the series know better. The focus is on a so-called chosen one, but one who needs others, especially his two best friends, both despised by pure-blood supremacists, one for being Muggle-born because she comes from a non-magical family, and the other as blood traitor because his family are committed anti-supremacists. His closest companions also include a half-giant who sees beauty in what the rest of us might call dangerous monsters, a werewolf of exceptional compassion and wisdom, and a courageous house elf who saves Harry and his friends at one of their most desperate hours and in a way few others could, when once again Harry called out for help and magically received it. Again, multiple religions affirm the importance of diversity and inclusion. Here I'll focus on Sikhism, which is also pronounced Sikhism. Sikhism emphasizes the oneness of God and teaches that God is both creator and creation. All God created has divinity, and we are called to honor that divinity and care for this earth and each other as if it were God, because it is. God delights in diversity because God is diversity, as well as unity. As the previous point indicates, religion can cultivate an us versus them mentality, but it also teaches us how to transcend it. Here at Simpson, you'll be enriched by new perspectives, new experiences, and new friends. Again, don't sort too soon, for we can let our diversity divide us, but as Dumbledore reminds us, we're only as strong as we are united, as weak as we are divided. The final passage is, it was time for the rescuer to appear, but no one was coming to help this time. And then it hit him. He understood. He hadn't seen his father. He'd seen himself. This comes towards the end of Prisoner of Azkaban, when Harry realizes he is the one he's been waiting for, that no one can or will save them from a fate worse than death except him, as he suddenly realizes that he has the ability to do so because of all he's learned and all he is. As before, many traditions teach this truth. Perhaps most known is a saying attributed to the Hindu leader Mahatma Gandhi, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." It's also found in a Christian gospel, so threatening to some that they tried to destroy it forever. Many scholars believe that this gospel, the Gospel of Thomas, is among our earliest Christian texts, that it inspired the Gospel of John, whose author so disagreed with Thomas's understanding of Jesus that he labeled him Doubting Thomas, the characterization he remains best known as today. John believed that Jesus was the only begotten Son of God, which to him meant God incarnate, whose death saved us from sin and offered eternal life, provided we have faith in Jesus as John perceived him. Thomas, however, sees Jesus as a teacher who comes to save us not from sin, but from ignorance, not through his death and resurrection, but by his teachings, which lead us to deeper and deeper understanding until we too become like Jesus and are called to teach others. The name Thomas means twin, not in the sense of biological kinship, but a shared spiritual nature. Thomas teaches in terse gnomic statements. Chapter 13 is among the most detailed. Summarizing its points, Peter and Matthew show they have an incomplete sense of Jesus' nature, whereas Thomas demonstrates that he has surpassed discipleship and is now like Jesus, his twin. He receives teachings the other disciples aren't ready for because they haven't attained the necessary level of understanding. So in their ignorance and fear, they would likely lash out at Thomas, as essentially did happen to Thomas. denounced as a doubter with his gospel excluded from the Bible, and proclaimed heresy. Heresy literally means choice. That is, choosing to believe the wrong thing according to authorities who regard their own views as right belief, which is what orthodoxy literally means. But everyone regards their own views as right. The issue is who has the power to enforce their views of right and wrong. One of my most rewarding teaching moments was when, in a class that centered heretical viewpoints rather than marginalizing them, a student defined heresy as thinking for yourself in ways that authority doesn't like. And that gets to the heart of it. So class of 2022, think for yourself, even if authority doesn't share your conclusions. But be sure to make abundant use of the library and acquire the necessary knowledge and skills to recognize your own limits and seek support, to appreciate the complexity of humanity and embrace the diversity that stands among our deepest strengths. Then perhaps you too will realize you are the one you've been waiting for as you work for what you believe in. As Emma Watson, the actress who plays Hermione Granger in the film, said as she wrestled with her own trepidation about public speaking in a call for greater gender equality, if not me, who? If not now, when? And she's paraphrasing Hillel, a Jewish teacher from the 1st century BCE. If you make the most of your Simpson education, I have no doubt how this will end. This March for Our Lives sign might say it best. Though we face challenging times, through our collective efforts, we will share the closing line of Deathly Hallows, which intentionally echoes the teaching of a 14th century mystic named Julian of Norwich, all will be well. So thank you, and thanks especially to the class of 2018.